Everything mainstream media says is a lie. Everything is a freaking lie at this point. I challenge anyone to find me a mainstream media news story that isn't a lie. That isn't a lie. That's simple. Find me a story. Last week we reported that the Afghan bounties story was a complete hoax. That was created by the New York Times. A complete lie. Complete lie. Russia is paying Taliban to take out American soldiers. Completely made up. Anonymous sources, made up. Now we get this lie. The title from RT says, Capitol police officer media claimed was killed in January 6 riot, died of natural causes, says medical examiner. Notice all caps in that title. Natural causes, says medical examiner. All they do is lie, lie, lie. Lie, lie, lie. Man. Yeah, all right. Let's get into this story and this video. Officer Brian Sicknick of the U.S. Capitol Police died after suffering two strokes, but there was no evidence of internal or external injuries from the January 6 unrest. The Washington, D.C. medical examiner has finally revealed. The Washington, D.C. medical examiner has revealed that Brian Sicknick, rest in peace, suffered two strokes. Sicknick was 42, died after suffering two strokes at the base of the brainstem caused by a clot in an artery, medical examiner Francisco J. Diaz said on Monday. The autopsy found no evidence of internal or external injuries or an allergic reaction to chemical irritants, Diaz added. You know what really gets me? What really shows how sick the mainstream media is, how sick MSNBC and CNN and New York Times, the Washington Post, how sick they are, is that they'll use this man's death in order to push an agenda that divides the United States. An agenda that causes more suffering, more division, more depression. They'll use this man's death in order to push that agenda. And Scott McFarland sent a tweet here saying, breaking, cause of death of fallen U.S. Capitol Police Officer Brian Sicknick per medical examiner. Diaz told the Washington Post that all that transpired played a role in his condition, but declined to say if Sicknick had a pre-existing medical condition, citing privacy laws. Monday's revelation undermines the official narrative about the January 6, quote, insurrection, as it was labeled by the Democrats and the corporate media. Okay, so a complete lie. A complete lie. They said he was hit by a fire extinguisher. I remember that lie was being pushed out, and they said he died because two men supposedly hit him with bear spray. 2 men were charged last month for allegedly assaulting him with bear spray. He didn't die from that. One of the biggest media disinformation instances in American history. And only now the truth is coming out after they fabricated an entire story that Sicknick was killed by a rioter with a fire extinguisher out of thin air. Just wow. Capitol Police Officer Brian Sicknick suffered strokes, died of natural causes, D.C. medical examiner says. It's a D.C. medical examiner. Let's see all their lies, everybody. Let's see all their lies. I'm going to play a very short segment from Tucker Carlson tonight, where he puts together a very short montage of CNN, MSNBC, and all these liars using this man's death in order to push their toxic and divisive agenda. Let's listen.
So again, we had to take their word for it. They told us that rioters killed Brian Sicknick with a fire extinguisher. That's what the media said. Watch.
Officer Brian Sicknick died after being hit in the head with a fire extinguisher during the hours-long attack. They beat a Capitol police officer to death with a fire extinguisher.
Officer Brian Sicknick died after being hit in the head with a fire extinguisher during the fight.
He died at the age of 42 after he was bludgeoned with a fire extinguisher.
Over.
Okay. All lies. All lies. Lies. Lies, lies, lies. Who did we get a lie from there? Anderson Cooper. Anderson Cooper. All lies. Nicole Wallace. Nicole Wallace, who's part of the Bush family machine. The George W., father, son, Jeb. She was part of that machine. She was part of that inner circle. MSNBC, all lies. We're literally getting fed lies from people who pretend to be journalists, but who are actually CIA spooks, or part of warmonger families that pushed the Iraq WMD war lie. Nicole Wallace was part of a family that pushed Iraq weapons of mass destruction. Think about those words, guys. Weapons of mass destruction. WMDs. Iraq has WMDs. We have to go and invade. Saddam has WMDs. We have to go in there. Set the Middle East on fire. Kill hundreds and hundreds of thousands of innocent people. Put the lives at risk of thousands of soldiers because of WMDs. Are you telling me that all this stuff isn't formulated and fabricated in Hollywood or some New York PR ad agency by script writers? Of course it is. You're telling me that this whole narrative that just played out now, hit with a fire extinguisher, wasn't scripted out? Of course it was scripted out. Last week's debunked Taliban lie that they threw on Trump during the election. Remember, they threw that on Trump to once again propagate the lie that Trump is a Putin stooge. I'm sorry, a President Clinton stooge. You know, they had to push that lie. So they said, so the scriptwriters came up with a cool little scenario. Let's make up a story that Russia is paying the Taliban to take out American soldiers in Afghanistan so that Trump doesn't pull out the soldiers in Afghanistan. And we can also tie it into the whole Trump is a Putin / Clutin, according to Joe Biden / President Clutin stooge. They made it all up. And now that Biden has to take out the troops from Afghanistan, well, you can't have that story hanging around anymore. So they got to figure out a way to surface that lie, somehow explain away that lie. So they did. Oh, boy. Lies, lies, lies. Anyway, guys, Tucker Carlson also had Glenn Greenwald on, and he talked about the lies with this Brian Sicknick story. Zero Hedge has the title that says the media lied repeatedly about Officer Brian Sicknick's death, and they just got caught. And it's actually they're reposting this from Glenn Greenwald on his Substack profile. And I'm going to put a link to all of this stuff so you guys can read it for yourselves, see the videos, see the tweets. You know, Glenn Greenwald did a really good piece here. And of course, when he was talking about this story, the mainstream media went after him. Like, look at these tweets right here, or these screenshots of tweets. And over here it says, Greenwald's latest article is flirting with Sicknick trutherism, right? And another person said he's full of Sicknick truther. He's full on Sicknick truther. So they even had a word for it. Anyone that doubted the BS narrative of this fire extinguisher, they called him a Sicknick truther. Once again, completely made up by the script writers and the screenplay writers in Hollywood or in the ad agencies, the PR agencies in New York. Completely made up. But that's how they attacked Glenn Greenwald, who's liberal, by the way, who's a true liberal. I mean, he's on the left, not a Trump supporter, not a Trump fan at all, but he's a fan of the truth. The Washington Post, even the Washington Post had to admit it. When the Washington Post has to admit that they were lying, well, you know how bad they were really lying. Capitol Police Officer Brian Sicknick, who engaged rioters, suffered 2 strokes and died of natural causes, officials say. They used this man's death in order to push out BS propaganda. Here are the tweets, screenshots of the tweets from the Associated Press. He was hit in the head with a fire extinguisher during the riot. Here it is from Lincoln Project. A member of the mob, encouraged by Hawley, killed Hawley of Missouri. Senator Hawley killed him with a fire extinguisher. Richard Engel, Officer Sicknick, clubbed to death with a fire extinguisher by a pro-Trump mob. Clubbed to death with a fire extinguisher by a Trump mob. Nicholas Kristof. These are all journalists, and of course the Associated Press, the Lincoln Project. All these organizations ran with this story. They needed this story. They needed the story to, once again, impeach Trump, to go after Trump, to go after the people who were involved on January 6th. They needed this. They needed this. So they fabricated it. They fabricated it. That's how low they'll go. A man who died of a stroke. They don't care. They don't care. They'll even use that, and they'll lie about that in order to push out their sick agenda. In an interview with the Washington Post, Francisco J. Diaz, the medical examiner, said the autopsy found no evidence the 42-year-old officer suffered an allergic reaction to chemical irritants, which Diaz said would have caused Sicknick's throat to quickly seize. Diaz also said there was no evidence of internal or external injuries. Diaz, the medical examiner, also said there was no evidence of internal or external injuries. Diaz said Sicknick suffered 2 strokes at the base of the brainstem caused by a clot in an artery that supplies blood to that area of the body. Diaz said he could not comment on whether Sicknick had a pre-existing medical condition, citing privacy laws. Guys, all lies. All lies. Lies, lies, lies. My legs. All right, guys, that is the video. I hate doing these stories. I would much rather do news stories that highlight the clown world we live in. And now I kind of want to spin them into more satire and stuff, which is kind of fun to do. But this story to me was, it just pisses me off that they use this man's death to push their sick agenda. So there's nothing funny about it. But all they do is lie to us. That's all they do. All they do is lie to us. All right, guys. That's the video. Today I am decked out in Duran USA gear. A USA shirt. This is a navy blue shirt. It has the black double-headed eagle with the USA flag right there. And I've got a Duran USA mug, a magic mug with the flag of the USA. Help support this channel because this channel has been demonetized. And doing videos like this will not help my cause out. But I'll keep doing them. Anyway, guys, that's the video. Take care.